and welcome to BKAT Presents. I'm your host, Constance Baird, and today we're in downtown Winslow on Bainbridge Island at the Pavilion, and joining me is Lee Moniz from the Tyler Moniz Project. Lee, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So Lee, I know this project was really started in honor of your son, and he's who I'd like to focus on first of all. Tell me a little bit about your son.
Well, Tyler was 21 years old, and he just turned 21. And he was a junior at Washington State University, and he struggled with depression, but we weren't quite aware of it. He hid it well, and I think it was something that he was ashamed of. And it wasn't until the end of his life that we really knew the depth of his depression.
Sure.
But he was a pretty outgoing, happy, all-American young man. Graduated from Bainbridge High School in 2013 and went to Washington State and was pretty successful for the first couple of years.
And tell me, what was that like? I mean, do you get a phone call? How does that go?
Well, we knew he was struggling the last couple of weeks. He had stopped going to class in January and never told anyone. And we weren't informed by WSU that he had not gone to class. And he hid it and played along while he was struggling with his depression. We didn't find out until the last couple weeks prior to his death that how deep his depression was.
Sure.
And I'm a registered nurse, and all the things that I've been trained to do, I asked him, if he was depressed and suicidal, and if he's ever had thoughts of suicide, and he laughed and looked at me and said, "Mom, I'm not going to do anything stupid." And that was 2 weeks prior to his death. I was informed by the county coroner. They came to our house and told me. It was probably the worst day of my life.
Well, sure, absolutely. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But with his death, we had many friends that came, and community members that came and shared with us their fears of their own family members or children, or people that they had lost to suicide, or were struggling with mental health. And as a nurse, I knew the numbers are bad, but I had no idea how epidemic the numbers are. Because so many people that I worked with and our friends were confiding in us that their kids were struggling. And I was astounded that I had no idea. So as with Tyler, with hiding his own depression because of his embarrassment and people not feeling like they could share this, we developed the Tyler Moniz Project. Our mission is to start conversations and to encourage people to speak out and destigmatize mental health and make it something that they feel very comfortable talking about and not ashamed.
So tell me, how do we get these conversations started in our community? How do we get people talking about what is most important?
We don't have the answer, but we're trying to do different projects. When we first started the Tyler Moniz Project, we thought we would do a scholarship, and it's the kindness or the good guy award that you don't have to be the best athlete, you don't have to have the best grades, that you are nominated by a coach or a teacher, and you are someone that is supportive and kind to your classmates or teammates. And so we were offering a scholarship of $1,000, and we were hoping in the first year to raise $5,000 to $10,000 to kind of keep this going every year. And we had our auction, and we raised over $25,000. So
wow.
It was amazing, the support of our community. We also put out these little ceramic hands with a heart, and we leave them around the island, and it says, "Please take us home in remembrance that someone cares for you." And so we hide them on the trails and different places so that it's just a reminder that someone is always there, willing to listen, and you're loved. So we kind of started small, and then the next year we had our auction, and we were hoping maybe $25,000 to $50,000, and we made almost $100,000.
Wow.
So this is telling me that our community understands that this is a huge problem, and they're very supportive. One of the other ideas that we've come up with, the project, is the Bench Project. and it's about starting conversations. So we call it the conversation bench. And it's bright blue because it's Tyler's favorite color. The first bench that we installed was at the high school, and it's right as you walk into the high school, and you basically sit there if you want to talk to someone, and if you see someone, you go over and sit down and ask them how they are. It's as simple as that. It's just creating conversation and bonds that I think that we're starting to lose with everybody, with looking into their phones all the time and not making connections.
Sure, we're always hiding behind some kind of screen rather than really connecting with our fellow human beings.
Correct, yes. So another project that we were introduced to was bringing the Coffee Oasis to Bainbridge Island. It's an amazing organization that has been around for 21 years, providing support and many different resources to kids in the county.
Sure. And tell me what the need for resources is here in Bainbridge Island. It's a little bit different than the other communities that Coffee Oasis is in. What's the need specifically here? I know you spoke to many teens in this area. Tell me what you're hearing from them.
So the focus that Coffee Oasis had years ago was homelessness. And we don't have the problem as much as perhaps other communities do in Kitsap. We do have the problem, but our focus would be more on substance abuse and counseling, the hotline, suicide prevention. I do feel that our kids are very stressed. It's a very high achieving community that push a lot of their expectations on our youth, and it's very overwhelming. So it would be a great place for them to be able to come to and just relax and feel safe and be able to open up to their friends, their counselors, and just have a good time and also seek out help if they need it.
Sure. Like you mentioned, they might be at home in this high achieving setting and feel even more closed off to trying to share something that's really so sensitive and so difficult, where if they had a place to kind of let their guard down, to be around their peers, and then have resources available to help them, that could be a huge help to the teens in this area.
Yes, absolutely. And it would be a place that we would have open a little bit later in the evenings throughout the week, so kids could come in and do their homework. And on weekends, they can plop down and have fun and relax, do classes. We've had people offer yoga and pottery, and we'd like to connect with other community groups, the Barn, Bainbridge Youth Services. There's so many people that are already working and doing wonderful things for the youth, and we would just like to expand upon that.
Sure, just create another access point really to get to more kids.
Correct.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to say, Lee, I want to commend you really for turning something so tragic and so painful into something so positive that affects the rest of the community. How did you do it?
Well, it's you can either, stay in your house and curl up and do nothing, or you can try and move forward. And I have to say, this has been very healing for myself and my family. I think I've gotten more from our foundation than I've given. And our hope is that one day we can say that there'll be families out there that don't have to deal with the death of their child. So.
Sure. We're right there alongside you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the hard work that you're doing in our community and for being with us today.
Oh, thank you.
It's no small feat you've undertaken, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And joining me now is Dave Frederic, the Executive Director of Coffee Oasis. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Constance.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about Coffee Oasis?
Coffee Oasis is an organization spread throughout Kitsap County that really exists to serve, support, reach out to troubled youth.
Sure.
Typically, our mission statement is changing the world for homeless youth. So it's with that as as the root, I mean, we're about wanting to serve youth, but it's also wanting to impact our communities, so our communities will care about youth and want to be involved in serving youth more also.
Absolutely. How many locations, staff, volunteers? I mean, tell me about the behind the scenes, Jeff.
Currently we have 4 locations. We have 1 in Port Orchard, 2 in Bremerton, 1 in Paulsbo. Hopefully January we'll be opening a new location in Kingston.
Wonderful.
It's in the middle of renovation. We have about 74 employees, about 100 volunteers, so it's kind of a big collaborative effort to serve our youth.
Sure. And you mentioned homelessness as one of the main initiatives for Coffee Oasis, but I know that a Bainbridge Island location is really taking a slightly different tack for Coffee Oasis. Tell me about that.
That's right. And the different tact isn't a mission drift. It's really serving the issues that in a lot of the community can lead to homelessness, but can also lead to just youth being broken and troubled and hurting, and issues of substance abuse and suicidal ideation or mental health issues, and which are a big part of how we serve youth. And so when we were reached out to from Bainbridge Island, it was particularly in relationship to those issues that brings us to Bainbridge Island.
Sure. And the idea here, the concept really, is to create a space for kids to hang out, to be with one another, and then also to have resources available to them. Is that correct?
It is. And I guess just to backtrack a little bit, I mean, we were reached out to because we have a 24/7 crisis text line that young people can reach out to kind of anonymously when they're in crisis, depression, or considering suicide, or just feeling rejected. They've just been kicked out of their home. And so our crisis manager has been writing with the Bainbridge Island Police, building relationships, responding to youth in crisis. And so coming to Bainbridge Island would really be just adding those services that we provide in the rest of the county, a supportive community, case managers, job trainers, therapists, chemical dependency counselors, and just a supportive, caring community to just surround and serve those youth.
Sure. And I think a lot of that behind the scenes stuff is what we really don't see so much as the public, right? All the caseworkers and the counselors and the chemical dependency counselors, as you mentioned. That's a lot of folks doing some really hard work beyond just serving coffee or the job training opportunities that they're teaching the kids as well. It's a lot of work, Dave.
It is. And I mean, I agree. I don't think the community sees that, and maybe sometimes the community would say, why do we need this? Because we already have this. And yet it really does bring, I think, complementary services, supportive services to work with current services that just make for this continuum of services to serve our youth in a better way, to really bring health and support and encouragement to them.
Sure. And really meeting the kids where they're at, not forcing them to try and make an appointment to come into an office building and see somebody, but hey, here, this place where you guys might hang out, we're available to you. I think that really makes a big difference when it goes to helping our youth.
And that is exactly kind of the heart of the Coffee Oasis. So our case managers, our therapists, a youth might meet them playing pool or hanging out at the drop-in centers. So a relationship of trust and friendship is built to where youth that might be reticent to maybe take the step of shame into a counselor's office,
Sure.
It takes away that shame and that embarrassment because they're building a relationship of trust and friendship that then they're eager to follow that up with a text when they're in crisis, or walking through that door to have an appointment because a relationship has been established.
Sure. In a more organic setting, like
That's
you
right.
said, much
That's
more
right.
natural.
That's right.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for doing the hard work that you do for our community, Dave, and best of luck here in Bainbridge Island.
Thank you. We're very excited to, because we love kids and excited to be a part of serving youth together here.